I am back with another packed episode after a long absence. We talk about a heap of games I've recently played, an FLGS I visited in LA, and all the games I bought in the US. We also discuss the projects I've been involved with, and my random thought about the gamers or players that I usually play with. And we end it with a rundown of feedback from the meeple. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of On Deck, a podcast about my tabletop journey as a board gamer in the Philippines. If it's your first time listening in, welcome to the show. My name is Glory and I host this podcast. I also run the hobby Instagram account The Board Gamer PH, where I take pictures of and talk about my board game sessions with my friends. So before we get started on this jam-packed episode, I just wanted to explain my absence. I don't know if anyone noticed how long I was gone, but I was. I have not released an episode for maybe a month because I traveled for my 30th birthday. I went to LA and Arizona for a couple of weeks, and when I got back, my day job got in the way of this hobby, which is not surprising considering that I've been gone for quite some time. And it took me a while to get back on the horse because I was also helping out Gaming Library with G Live. So this reminds me, if you have not checked out G Live Game Night, please do so. G Live Game Night is a joint project between Gaming Library and me as the Board Gamer PH, where we stream our game night every Tuesday night from the Gaming Library headquarters. We also post the gameplays of the specific games in YouTube, so you can check out G Live Game Night on YouTube. I also help out with G Live, which is a podcast hosted by Gaming Library and the Gaming Library curators. We do a variety show and a roundtable discussion every month, so please do check that out. Just search G Live on your podcatchers. With that, let's now go to our first segment, What Have I Been Playing? So obviously, this won't be a full-blown What Have I Been Playing because I have been playing a lot of games. Aside from my usual plays with my friends, I also now have G Live every Tuesday night. And we usually play 3 to 4 games on cam and another game off cam. And since I have not done this in a while, it kind of compiled. And it would maybe take up 2 hours, and I don't want this podcast to run for 2 hours. So what I'm gonna do is talk about some of the notable games I've played recently. So the first game is Architects of the West Kingdom. Architects of the West Kingdom is a worker placement game for 1 to 5 players from Garfield Games. This is basically the second part of this series, which started with Raiders of the North Sea. In this game, the player with the most VP wins, and the VP is gained through different things, either by constructing buildings or advancing in the construction of the cathedral. Players are able to do these things by gaining resources and employees to help them out. What's unique about this game is that unlike in usual worker placement games, you have all of your workers, so 20 workers all on your personal board, free for you to take. And as an action, you can take them back from the board, so you can use them again. Also, the number of resources you get will depend on the number of workers you already have on that spot. So for example, I placed 1 worker to get a stone, and then the next round, I place another worker on the same spot. Instead of just getting 1 stone, I get 2 stones because I already have 2 workers there. So I like this as much as I like Raiders of the North Sea, which is a lot. I really like Raiders of the North Sea. I'm realizing that I like games that have many ways to get points. And this is a game that gives me that. You can choose to build buildings that give you points, or go up the cathedral track and get big points. Also, the interaction and the little rules also gives you more things to think about. Do I want to expose my workers and risk other players jailing them? Because as an action, you can capture workers of the other players and keep them on your personal board, which you can later sell. No, not sell, but give up to the jailer. So basically sell. Medyo may human trafficking element siya. So, do I want to get a lot of resources by compiling or compounding my workers in one spot and exposing them to my opponents. And as someone who can jail the meeples of my opponents, do I want to waste a turn and just jail them? Well, capture them, not jail them. So there are many things to consider. There's also a morality track wherein if you are moral, or if you're virtuous, so you're up in that moral track, you cannot go to the black market. But if you are immoral and you can go to the black market, then you cannot build the cathedral. So those are little rules that you have to consider, and it all melds together in one great game. I really like this series and how it plays with the worker placement mechanic, because the worker placement the usual formula for a worker placement game is you put one meeple, get something, and take that meeple later on. But this series, starting from the Raiders of the North Sea and now with Architects of the West Kingdom, it plays with that formula, okay? It shakes it up. With Raiders of the North Sea, although I know that some other games have done this, it's place one worker, get that action, take another worker, and take that action as well. So it still plays with that mechanic. This one I have not seen in any other game, where you have all of your meeples and you just put them one by one on the board. I know that the next part of this series will be Paladins of the West Kingdom, which is a bit more complex, according to the reviews, and I cannot wait to try that one. Next, I also tried a few Stonemaier games. Of course, let's start with the most famous one, Scythe. Scythe is an area majority asymmetrical game for 1 to 5 players. This is probably one of the most hyped games of 2016. And it took me some time to play it kasi 2019 na ngayon. So in this game, each player plays a different faction with their own abilities and different engine building routes. Players can unlock new abilities that allow them to explore more areas of the map, generate resources on their territories, and activate mechs. So in each turn, the player will choose a specific action on their personal boards, which is different from the rest. So my personal board is not the same as the personal board of my opponents. They can do a top action and a bottom action, which can either be to move, convert, generate, trade, etc. Players can gain points by completing achievements, controlling territory, and having resources or popularity at the end of the game. But the game revolves on completing the different achievements like deploying all of your mechs, therefore, deploying your workers, I think there are 8, advancing on the power or popularity tracks up to its maximum capacity, and at the end of the game, the player with the most points wins. In the case of a tie, the person with the most popularity wins, I think. I really enjoyed my play of Scythe. It helps that I have played My Little Scythe before, and I must mention that My Little Scythe is a good way to play Scythe with non-gamers. Okay, so for someone who does not really want to get into the whole Scythe system, but you, as someone introducing a game to them, you want to play Scythe or you want to get the feel of Scythe, My Little Scythe is a very good implementation of that system. Now, speaking of this Scythe system, I absolutely love it. The goal of the game is to garner points, but you also have to work on the achievements because these achievements not only lets you earn points but acts as the timer of the game. So you'll need to strategize focuses early on during the game. So if you want to be the type of player that explores the map, then you have to align the achievements that you try to complete with this in mind, if that makes sense. I love the components of the game and the detail that was thought of in making the game. The minis, the board is absolutely beautiful. And also the variability. I mean, your personal board is different from everyone else. All the factions are different from everyone else's. I got the expansions of Scythe because I really liked it. I got Invaders from Afar, which was the first one, and it adds 2 more factions, I think. Yes, 2 more factions. Wind Gambit, which adds airships. The Rise of Fenris, which is the most hype expansion ever, probably, which adds a campaign mode. And I'm thinking of getting the modular board, but I don't think I've played it enough to justify that purchase. So Scythe is definitely a keeper. I thought that it was too hype. Kasi Actually, all the Stonemaier games are very much hype, like Wingspan, right? But this one really deserves it, especially considering the games that came out in that year. Scythe really deserved that hype. The next game from Stonemaier is Viticulture. Viticulture is a worker placement game for 1 to 6 players. In Viticulture, players are playing winemakers in Tuscany. Each round is divided into a summer season and a winter season. Actually, fall season ba? Basta, 2 seasons. And there are certain actions that you can only take during the summer season, like draw a vine card and plant a vine card. In winter, you can harvest a field, make wine, or fulfill wine orders. So basically, the whole game, you will have to go through both seasons because you can plant your grapes in summer, but you can only harvest them during winter. So each round, the wine that you have made will age. And aging is important because different wine orders require different ages. And then it goes again. There are other things that you can do that affects your game, like the turn track lets you get a bonus, and the bonus gets better the later you go. You can also build a structure that will make you more efficient or unlock bigger wine cellars. You can also give tours and sell fields to get money, and there are visitor cards that you can play to get bonuses. So it breaks the game basically. So play just proceeds in this manner with you getting points from different things, but mostly from fulfilling wine orders. And the player with the most points, as soon as someone reaches 20 points, is the winner. So it's a race to 20 points, but in the end, kahit marami na kayong naka 20 points, kung sino yung pinakamataas, siya yung panalo. This game is probably one of the best worker placement games in the market right now. Earlier, I talked about the usual formula of worker placement games, of place a worker, get something, then take all of your workers and start again. This does that, but it does it better because you also need to think about the winter actions and saving your meeples for those winter actions. So you can't just be haphazardly, uubusin mo na lang yung meeples mo at the start. You have to pace it out and you need to know when you need those winter actions. I also love the different things happening in the game, like the structures you need to build and the visitors you want to visit a vineyard. These little things affect your overall game in the end. Like, the mistake I made during my last play was that I did not train more workers because I didn't have money and you need to pay for these workers. I didn't have money because I didn't sell my field. Those are little rules that will affect your overall game. Well, of course, it's just strategizing, but I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. I also heard that the solo variant of this game is very good, but I think that's common for all Stonemaier games. They always have good solo modes. I liked it so much that I bought the Tuscany expansion because, according to the people I played with, it is essential. Also, the other expansion, the mini one, I can't remember the name. I think Visitors from Rhine Valley, but out of stock pa siya, so hindi ko pa siya kinuha. So I really like this game. I'm not very good at it. But of course I'm gonna get better. And I just wanna play it again and again. I actually wanna play it now. It's the one game that I'm thinking of that I want to play as soon as possible. So as with all of the Stonemaier games, components here are amazing as well, but not as good as, let's say, Scythe. Well, it's also a bit cheaper. It's around the 3,000 mark. Scythe is around the 4,000 mark. So there, that's Viticulture. The next game from Stonemaier Games is Tapestry. Tapestry is a civilization game for 1 to 5 players. It's probably one of the most hyped games of 2019. When I saw the components online, I knew I had to try it because they all looked amazing. The structures are painted. So in Tapestry, you basically just choose to advance on a track or earn income. That's it. You can choose to advance on a particular track or balance it out. Your choices are the science track, technology track, exploration track, and military track. Advancing on a particular track also lets you do certain actions. The technology track awards technology cards and allows you to place your market structure in the capital city, which is your personal grid. Exploration track lets you acquire territory tiles and place them on the central board, which is shared by everyone. You can also place your farm structure in your grid. Science track lets you roll the science die and make progress on the track rolled. And the military track lets you conquer regions on the central board. Armories are also added to your personal grid. So like in Scythe, certain bonuses are unlocked the more structures you place on your grid. And once the last player has taken their 5th income track, the game ends and the player with the most points wins. I'm not gonna give my overall thoughts on Tapestry until I've played it a couple more times. I don't think it's fair to the game if I start talking about it without really having the chance to explore the game that much. I enjoyed my first play though, but it's heavy. It's heavier than the last Stone Meyer release I've played, even heavier than Scythe. I know for a fact that so many people love this game, but there are also people that hate it. So I decided to purchase it when I'm sure that I can play it, not just with the people I play with recently, but also my friends who are not necessarily gamers but can handle complex games. If not, I don't think the price is worth it for me because it's around the 5,000 mark. If I don't get it to the table that often, then I don't think it's worth it, especially since the gamers that I play with have it already. But yes, for the people who really like it and enjoy it, I think that price point is worth it because of the component quality. Next, I've also had the chance to play 2 Stefan Feld games that I really enjoyed. So let's go to the first one. The first one is Castles of Burgundy. Castles of Burgundy is an older game from Stefan Feld and probably his most popular one. It's a Euro game for 2 to 4 players from Aliyah or Ravensburger and was released in 2011. In this game, each player is trying to build their kingdom with all sorts of things like castles, farms, ports, etc. You do your actions with dice. So on your turn, you roll 2 dice and the result of the dice dictates the tile you can take from the central board, the tile you can place on your personal board from the storage area, goods you can sell, and other things like workers to take, etc. Tiles placed have bonus effects and you want to be able to score the tiles you placed and complete regions early in the game to score more points and have fantastic combos, such as when you're able to place the same kind of animals in your farm region because all of the animals that you previously placed score again. So the player with the most VB points from their tile placements and other bonuses in-game and end-game wins. I don't know if you understood my explanation of Castles of Burgundy. It's very hard to explain without showing you the board. But I'm sure if you're a gamer, you probably know Castles of Burgundy and you've probably played it and also love it. So I must say that Castles of Burgundy is now a contender in my top 3 favorite games of all time. If you guys have been listening since episode 1, I've probably mentioned it a couple of times that my favorite game of all time is Game of Thrones, the board game. Castles of Burgundy is now a contender for that spot. We'll know at the end of the year. I'll have to think about it thoroughly because right now I've already played Castles of Burgundy more than I've played Game of Thrones this year. So Castles of Burgundy tickles my brain in a good way by thinking of my plans A to Z, depending on the result of the dice. Like I always catch myself thinking, okay, what's my plan B? What's my plan C? What happens if they take that tile first? I also love that there are dice mitigation measures like the workers you get, which can add or subtract 1 from the dice you rolled, or by just getting tiles from the black market instead of having to roll a particular die result. I also love the interaction of the tiles. My favorite one is the castle, which allows me to do another action like I rolled an extra die. I also like that you can create a goal for yourself by getting the yellow tiles, which gives you endgame bonuses, so you tend to do actions that will allow you to earn points during the endgame scoring. So what I like most about this game is the fact that there is no wrong move. There is a better one though, and it tickles my brain because I like thinking about efficiency in actions. People complain about the blandness of the theme, but I don't really mind. I would want to get that Castles of Burgundy Deluxe Edition though. So I've also tried the dice game and I really enjoy that one though. Not as much as I enjoy the board game because the board game really gives me that feeling of there's no wrong move. There's just a better one and you have to find that better one. The dice game doesn't give me that same feeling, but I still enjoy it very much. I recently picked up the card game, which had glowing reviews and people were actually saying that it replaces the board game for them. And I was like, what? How can a card game replace a board game? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Also, I got the app and I play it in my iPad. I play it often. From one of Stefan Feld's earlier releases, let's now talk about his more recent game, Carpe Diem, released in 2018, which got nominated for the Kenner Spiel this year. Yes, this year. Carpe Diem is a tile placement game for 2 to 4 players from Aliyah also, Ravensburger. In Carpe Diem, the players are rich patricians in ancient Rome. Wow, very unique, right? On each turn, players move their patricians on the central board in an adjacent spot in a circular pattern. So basically, nakabilog sila and they move around. They want to move to an adjacent spot to get a tile from that spot, which they place on their personal board. So may tile, yun yung tile placement mechanism niya. The thing though is that the tile placement has certain rules like in Carcassonne, which is a game I don't really like. So completing a pattern or a structure through tile placement can get you bonuses or resources. And at the end of every round, you have the option to fulfill, no actually not an option, but you have to fulfill 2 goals, which can give you points. If you are however unable to do so, then you score negative points. So that's how the game is played. I have not played a lot of titles from Mr. Stefan Feld, so I have no point of comparison except Castles of Burgundy, but people have been saying that this is one of Feld's lighter games and a good entry point into his style of games, which I'm liking. What I know though is that I don't like tile laying games. I don't like Carcassonne, but I really enjoy this game. What I don't enjoy about tile laying games is how I need to make the structure I'm building big with multipliers. And therefore, other people's draw can really hurt me. I don't enjoy that. In this game, the structure I'm building, except one structure, does not need to be big. It just needs to be in the right place that will grant me bonuses. Like the borders of your personal board indicates whether you need to put a specific structure there. I also like that my opponents cannot automatically hurt me if they want to, because even if they know that I need a certain tile, their patrician may not be near that spot, and it will take them a couple more moves to get to that spot. So they wouldn't want to waste moves just to mess with me, right? But in other tile laying games, it's so easy to do this. The bonuses at the end of the round is punishing. I find that if you are not the first person to pick, do not lock yourself in with a particular bonus because you need flexibility to fulfill other bonuses. Otherwise, you get negative points. So this happened to me. I wasn't the first one to pick the goal, but I already made sure that I had like 3, what was that? Fish? I can't remember the resources. Let's say 3 fish. I only had 3 fish. And there's only one goal in the choices where you can fulfill a bonus for 3 fish. And someone already took it. So I couldn't fulfill anything else and I scored negative points. But I didn't mind the tightness. I really enjoyed this game and I'm enjoying my recent discovery of Stefan Feld games. Next up in my rotation would be In the Year of the Dragon, and I am on the hunt for Bruges, which they are saying is one of his best games. The next game is Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is a bag building game for 2 to 4 players from North Star Games. It won the Kenner Spiel in 2018, and it was designed by Wolfgang Warsch, a hot game designer right now. Not hot, physically hot, but I'm not sure. I have not seen him. But meaning his games are so famous right now. He made Ganchon Clever and The Mind. This game is also a light bag building game that has a push your luck element to it. So in this game, each player is a quack doctor trying to make their potion or antidote or something. Each player will have their own bag containing ingredient chips, and they have to place these ingredient chips on their personal board. And the higher the number indicated on the chip, the farther it goes on the board. But if you put in more than 7 bombs worth in your pot or on your board, the pot explodes. At the end of the round, the players gain points and coins. But if your pot explodes, you can only choose to gain either points or coins. You use coins to buy more ingredients to put in your bag, and at the end of the game, the player with the most points wins the game. This is my first bag building game. I have not tried Orleans and Altiplano. But this game has garnered a significant amount of hype, so I tried it. And I loved it. I shouldn't like it because I hate getting frustrated in games. Like if I don't pick the ingredient chip that I want, it should frustrate me. But that feeling of anticipation and pushing your luck is just so addicting in this game. And because it's light, you don't really mind and you just want to go again. So I really like this game. I know that an expansion was released in Gen Con and I am looking forward to picking it up. Although, hindi ko pa alam kung ano yung ina-add niya. But I really like the game, so I'm probably gonna pick up the expansion. Next, after talking about Splendor last last episode, I got obsessed to find the next Splendor. And I've been pushing up Splendor Killers in my rotation. So that's why I played Gizmos, Majesty of the Realm, Century New World, and Space Explorers. I'm working up to a whole episode just talking about these quote-unquote Splendor Killers, but for now, I want to highlight Gingerbread House. So Gingerbread House is a pattern-building set collection game for 2 to 4 players from Lookout Games. The backstory of this game is quite dark, even if the theme is a bit cutesy. So once upon a time, a witch lived alone in her house made of gingerbread. However, rude fairy tale characters were eating her house. Therefore, the witch decided to trap these gingerbread eaters by luring them with her favorite kinds. So yeah, it's quite dark. In this game, each player is building their gingerbread house by placing domino-like tiles in a 3x3 grid. Pero 3D siya, so umaakyat siya. Each tile has a symbol, and you activate this symbol by placing a tile over it. So your house can go up and up and up. So by covering a tile, you can either get a type of gingerbread or other action bonuses, which lets you trap characters that give you points. These characters have different gingerbread demands. That's why you have to collect different kinds of gingerbread. Then you also have overall goals you need to accomplish that will give you end game bonuses. So for example, collect 3 humans or collect 3 non-humans. It's weird. Or have your gingerbread house go up to 6 levels. Something like that. At the end of the game, the player with the most number of points from the characters trapped and the end game bonuses granted is the winner. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love Splendor. The simplicity is really its beauty. But out of all the games I played that is supposed to be quote-unquote Splendor killers, this one is the nearest one for me. It doesn't kill Splendor, but it comes really close. It has the potential to be at par with Splendor. Of course, I have to play it again. I've played Splendor to death. So I have to play Gingerbread House more to know that it has that same staying power. The player interaction is there because you might be collecting the same gingerbread items for the same type of characters that you want to trap. So it's the same as Splendor. Maybe you're working up towards the same kind of card, right? And kung pareho pala kayo and maunahan ka, it kind of ruins your game, but not by much. You can bounce back. The resources here, though, are infinite. And you just need to work with what you have in terms of tiles, as the tiles are not common for all players. So you have your own set of tiles and they have different resources printed to them. So iba-iba kayo ng pwedeng kolektahin. But what I like is figuring out how you can score the maximum number of points in one turn because you can trap multiple characters in one turn. And while the engine building in Splendor is much more evident, it is not that evident in this game, as this game is really more about set collection and resource management. I just got frustrated at some point because the end game bonus that I picked up early required a lot of a certain kind of gingerbread, but my tiles did not have a lot of that kind of gingerbread. So I had to change tactics towards the end, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't a game changer. Well, I didn't win, but my points, they weren't that far off from the winner. So this game was a very nice surprise for me. I didn't plan it. I mean, this was not a planned purchase for me this month, but I don't regret it one bit because I really, really like the game. Also, just an update, I got my copy of Pret-a-Porter! Yay! Although there were some glitches with FedEx and their arbitrary delivery fees, it does not matter because I got the game. And my first time backing in Kickstarter was a success! I am now planning to back 2 more projects. The first one is a roll and write game, and the other one is a Zombicide reboot. It's just, ayoko bumili kasi nung core game because I have my game and I like it very much and it was a gift. So I'm just planning to buy like a refresher or the reboot where I can get the plastic boards. Anyway, I digress. The production of Pret-a-Porter is amazing, but the game is even more amazing. So Pret-a-Porter is an economic game from Portal Games for 2 to 4 players. In this game, players are in the fashion industry, and that's why I picked it up, because the theme is unique, right? On each turn, players can place their workers, which allows them to do stuff like take a loan, sign a contract, hire a worker, build a building, get a design, and get the materials or the tela to fulfill the design. These things will either cost money to play or it can cost money during upkeep after every round. So at the end of 2 rounds, the players will field their designs as long as they have the materials for it. And the collections are scored using different parameters like size of the collection, PR points, quality points, etc. The players who win the fashion show earn points and the players sell their collection afterwards. That lets them earn money. Play goes like this for 12 rounds and in the end, points are tallied and money counts as points. So, kung sobrang yaman mo kasi laging malalaking collection yung binibenta mo, you have a big chance of winning. The player with the most points wins. First of all, I still can't believe I successfully backed my first game in Kickstarter. I'm so happy because Pret-a-Porter unlocked all of its stretch goals. The game itself is fantastic though. It was a brain burner. It felt like I was computing half of the time, but I love that about the game. The goal is to find a way to score the maximum number of points and money during a fashion show, which happens every 2 rounds. You also need to be aware of what the others are doing and whether you have a chance to win a particular category in a fashion show, because you'll need to focus your resources as you only have 3 workers. So I thought it would be longer than it was, but the game felt really short and tight. Of course, it was a learning game, so it took us about 2 hours to play at the full player count. I cannot wait to play this game with Blue because I really think she will enjoy it. Aside from the theme, which is the fashion industry, she will like the game because it's pretty and I think she likes economic games. Celine might like it too because Celine really enjoyed Power Grid. And there's a similar feel to it. Now let's go to a lighter side of things, okay? I got to play a couple of party games that I really liked. So first one is Red Flags. Red Flags is a party game for 3 to 10 player from Skybound Games. In this game, each player takes turns becoming the single person to whom other players create a date for. So isipin niyo yung searchy, yung show na may searchy number 1. So ganun to. So on each round, players take turns creating the perfect date for the single, and this is done by placing 2 white cards. You have to create a story. So kunwari, Blue, may reto ko sa'yo. And then sasabihin mo kung ano yung sinasabi ng white cards mo. Di ka mag-iimbento. Then once everyone is done placing the white cards, the other players have a chance to put a red flag on the other's dates. So the single will pick the best date out of everyone. So think Cards Against Humanity, but instead of picking the funniest answer, you pick the date that you can live with the most. So pwede bang she gives you the perfect amount of attention and affection, gives you the perfect gifts, but is actually 2 children stacked on top of each other. So something like that. So you still need to understand the person who is playing the single person to know what trait or type they can't refuse. Ano ba yung hiling ng taong to? Right? What's their soft spot? So far, it has been a blast with any of the groups I play with. I've played this with my office mates. I've played this with G-Live peeps, and it was a blast. Each time, it was a blast. I also bought expansions for the game. I bought Dark Red Flags and Sexy Red Flags with adult white and red cards for my friends. I was thinking of picking up the nerdy expansion, but it's kind of polarizing. I will say this now, I like this better than Cards Against Humanity, and it definitely replaces Cards Against Humanity for me. So the next party game I played is Pictomania. Pictomania is a drawing dexterity party game for 3 to 6 players from CGE. In this game, players are given a word to draw on their sheets picked from a common pile visible to everyone. But you can't make it too nice because you need to be quick so you can guess everyone else's drawings. If you finish guessing, you get a bonus for being quick. You then get points for correct guesses and deductions if the players do not guess your drawing correctly. That's it. At the end of 4 rounds, the player with the most points wins. The game was really a nice surprise for me. I usually do not like drawing games because I'm not very good at drawing. As in, don't ask me to draw a person because I will draw a stick person. This is why even though I enjoyed the illustrations, I had both the party pack and the after dark one, I got tired of it because I'm really not good at drawing. In this game though, you don't need to be good at drawing. You just need to give a good essence of the word you're drawing. I also like the fact that because everyone is frantic, you just have to go with your gut in guessing other people's drawings. This is really, really fun. For example, there was a word na yellow and someone draw the sun. It's so easy to draw, right? And you get it. It's yellow. It's yellow. It's really fun. You also celebrate when other people guess your drawing because although they get points for guessing, you will get deductions if they don't guess it correctly. So you want them to guess it correctly. So it's a really fun game. I picked up my own copy after trying it out. Instant buy. Also, it's on sale. So, before we end this long What Have I Been Playing segment, I just want to say that I have fallen in love with roll and writes lately, and I will be doing an episode on roll and writes. I cannot limit it to top 3, I think. I might have to extend this to a top 10 roll and write episode. But I just want to highlight a couple of roll and write games that I've really enjoyed. So first is Quinto and Ganchon Clever. So Quinto, think bingo, a more complicated bingo. I'm not going to explain how to play the game, but it's basically both of them, Ganchon Clever and Quinto. It's very abstract, where one player rolls a couple of dice. Well, in Quinto, it's 3 dice. Well, in Quinto, you have an option to just roll one of the 3 dice, but in Ganchon Clever, you roll a lot. It's abstract because you just want to create bonuses. So for me, Quinto is the basic roll and write game where you just want to write down numbers in ascending order and not repeating, and you want to complete a particular row. In Ganchon Clever naman, may combo effects na siya. And you do it Yahtzee style. You take a die and you roll everything again. So for me, the natural progression, if you like abstract games and you want to try a roll and write, go first for Quinto, and then Ganchon Clever, and then twice as clever, Doublet. I think that's a natural progression. I also got a chance to play Bricks and Second Chance. And I really like it. It's a spatial game naman. Bricks, just think about Tetris in a roll and write fashion. So, yung polyomino pieces, nahuhulog siya. But in Second Chance, the polyomino pieces, you can place them wherever you want, as long as it's adjacent. Also, the difference is that in bricks, the shapes are limited to the Tetris shapes. And you roll a dice to determine which one you'll have to draw. But in Second Chance, the shapes are more complex. There are big ones, there are small ones. And it's set. You know that kasi it's a flip and write. So you know that there will only be 2 cards with this figure. So you can try to plan it on your grid. I think I prefer Second Chance more. I don't know why. I think it felt more of a spatial game. With bricks kasi you're relying on the dice rolls and I didn't enjoy that part. But in Second Chance, Blue and I played it without talking. In bricks though, you're rooting for the roll of your opponent because makikinabang ka rin sa roll nila. So there's more interaction in bricks. I think it's also more friendly to people who are not into spatial games because it's really just Tetris. And I think more people have played Tetris. But for me, I prefer Second Chance. And then I also got to play Welcome to, which is probably the favorite of all roll and write games this year. And I must say that I also do enjoy it. It's a flip and write though. It's basically Quinto style, pero more complex. It has more of a theme. So it's not abstract, but it's Quinto style. And King Domino Duel, which I also love. I'm going to talk about these games in more detail in a separate episode because I think it'll take up more than an hour. Sana naman hindi, but it's gonna take up a while. If you want to hear more about roll and writes, you can just give me a message so that I can push it up in the queue. Okay? So with that long segment done, let's now go to the next segment, Bigas! board game acquisition syndrome. So I brought one big maleta to the US just for games. I'm just kidding. Of course I didn't, but it felt like it. I bought a lot of games because I'm in the US. When will I get the chance to get these games that are harder to find here with no shipping cost? Well, some of the games that I'm going to talk about are games that you can actually buy here, but baka dumating yun next year pa. So from Amazon, well, this is the benefit of having a friend in the US. Bumili ako ng games sa Amazon, tapos pinaship ko sa kanya, tapos kinuha ko na lang after. So from Amazon, I got the Red Flags expansion I talked about earlier. I also got Fleet the Dice game, which is a more complex roll and write, I heard. I got an expansion for Game of Thrones, the board game, which is A Dance with Dragons, because they don't ship it here. And I've been trying to get it for quite a while now. And then I got Point Salad and Horrified. These are newer titles. They were released in Gen Con. I got them, but I had them shipped through a balikbayan box that my friend had opened. So it's taking quite a while to get here. Hopefully this week makuha ko na siya. And then I visited an FLGS, of course. I always visit an FLGS whenever I'm abroad. I talked about that in my travel episode. If you want to see how the shelf looks like, just go to my Instagram or my Facebook. It's there. It's called Next Gen Games in LA. It's in downtown LA. Because the other FLGS were quite far. The one I really wanted to go to was in Fullerton. I think that's near Disneyland. Di ako masyadong sure. And we waited until the very last moment to go to an FLGS. So I didn't want to screw up our schedule that much. So I just went to the one in downtown LA. But it was still amazing. I mean, it was packed by people playing. And I really want to see that here in the Philippines. I want to see an FLGS packed with people playing. The last time I witnessed that was when I was still buying games from Dice and Dine. Dice and Dine was always packed. But this one, I think it was triple Dice and Dine. And it was packed. As in, di ako makapark. So anyway, in Next Gen Games, they're also very friendly there, by the way. I got King Domino Duel because I think next year pa yun dadating dito. I got Imhotep Duel. I got an expansion for News Fjord because I don't think that's ever gonna get here. And I got the second edition of Love Letter. You guys know that Blue and I really love Love Letter. And now that there's a second edition, of course, I have to get it. And it was the last one on stock. The packaging was a bit beaten up, but it's in a pouch, so it doesn't really matter. I also always visit the board game section of Barnes and Noble, and I was freaking out. And I kept messaging Gaming Library. Iniisa-isa ko yung games doon, and I was asking them if they were gonna get it, because some of them were Barnes and Noble exclusives. But sabi nila dadating daw, so hindi ko na binili kasi wala na talagang space yung luggage ko. So I just got the Passion expansion of Sagrada. I also always visit the board game section of Target, of any Target store that we visit. And I also freaked out a bit. But I stopped myself. I really tried to hold back. So I just got Quicks, which is the more basic version of Quinto. I got Chameleon because Tom Vassell really likes this party game. I got Spy, which is a micro game. And Throw Burrito. So, those are the games that I've played. Those are the games that I've bought when I was in the US. If there's a game that you heard that you want me to specifically focus on by coming up with a review, just let me know and I'll do it. And with that, let's now go to the next segment. So now that I've been playing games with other gamers, getting to know the community in a more personal way, I'm starting to assess myself more as a gamer. So I got to thinking about my stage as a gamer. This was prompted by something I saw online. The 8 stages of a board gamer. So the first stage is blissfully oblivious. You are blissfully unaware of the world of modern board games. You know about Monopoly, the Game of Life, Snakes and Ladders, and poker. But it's quite amazing that you made it to this blog and you have no idea what you are reading. Most people will get stuck in this phase unless a friend introduces them to gaming. This is from Reddit kasi. Next, stage 2 is discovery. You just found out about modern board games through a friend, colleague, or associate. Somehow, you joined in for a social event and enjoyed yourself. You like this idea of board games and you have just become aware that there are thousands of board games to play and tens of thousands of people who play them. You've subscribed to the subreddit board games and you have found the boardgamegeek.com website. You started to watch YouTube series such as Will Wheaton's Tabletop, Tom Vasel's Dice Tower, Rado, or Watch It Played. Due to the overwhelming amount of board games that exist, you've begun to Google top 10 board game lists and to investigate the different types of board games that exist. So this is where we all start. Stage 3, newbie. Somehow you've managed to find out that there are different board game styles. You've found new terms such as Euro games, which indicate the game has little luck and more resource-based economic themes, and Ameritrash, which indicates a game is more thematic with conflict and drama. You've investigated enough board game styles to have an idea of what you think you want to play. You start buying some board games cautiously, based on reviews and videos that you have watched. To your surprise, you found out that there is a broad range of solo games that are also quite playable and fun. Stage 4, crazed. You initially convinced yourself that you would try 1 or 2 board games, but somehow you've ended up spending a lot of money on new board games and come to accept board gaming is your new hobby. You spend your paychecks on a regular impulse board gaming buys and Kickstarters. You religiously watch your favorite YouTube channels and you have decided to try and find matching game players who have similar tastes for you to play games. You start looking for the best deals on Amazon and you're kickstarting each modern new board games coming out. Although the big signal that you're at this stage is that your secret birthday wish lists for your friends now has board games on it. Stage 5, too far gone. Players who are too far gone cannot play a game more than once because they own and need to play too many board games. They would love to play a legacy game, but it's impossible to commit that many play sessions to one game when there are so many unplayed games to try. Choosing the next board game to play next involves playing a micro metagame selection process. The hours spent tracking games on BGG, Facebook, and Kickstarter are akin to a part-time job. Januaries are spent determining travel budgets for the years. Board game conventions and traveling to Spiel in Germany is a lifetime achievement. The sign that you are at this stage is you not only know what the math trade is, but you also know how to create one. Stage 6, realization. Either reality starts to set in or you're going broke. Either way, you realize that it's hard to find the people and time to play games at the rate that you are buying them. You've started to understand that board games are not Pokemon and you don't have to catch them all. You begin to enjoy certain categories of board games more than others. Your purchases aren't as impulsive as before, and you've discovered you don't have enough time to play all the games you want to, but you still buy a game once or twice a month. The physical sign that you are at this stage is you have a set of shelves that are now full of board games, and you've started to plan your dedicated game room. I think I am at this stage because I am broke. So I stopped there because I was at this stage. Here in the Philippines though, I mostly hear just 2 classifications of gamers. Either you're a casual gamer or someone who plays games only casually or for fun, or you're a gamer, wherein you've accepted that board gaming is a major hobby of yours. You have your own games, try to influence other people into gaming, and have gaming groups that get together regularly to play games. The thing is, I know I am a gamer, but I started thinking about what my other friends are in relation to the board game hobby. I figured that they were casual gamers because they only play games casually, duh. But Blue and some of my other friends would get mad whenever I called them casual gamers because it seemed like it had a negative connotation in terms of the complexity that they can handle. I don't think that this is true though, so I invented a new term, which is non-collector gamer friends. This just means that it covers the type of gamers I play with mostly. They do not collect games like me, which means that I pick the games we play, I buy it, and I curate my collection and think about them while I do. I study the rules and set it up and I teach to them. But we do get together regularly and they can handle the same games I can handle, meaning I don't need to adjust. So now after blabbing about this for the last couple of minutes, reflection reveals that it does not really matter. What matters is that more people play board games so that we can have more people to play with. Gamers, casual gamers, non-collector gamers, it doesn't matter. Sure, there will be different tolerances among different groups in terms of complexity, time investment, whatever. But that should not matter as long as you're playing a good game. I actually think that creating classifications can be more polarizing since there will always be that negative connotation with casual players. And mas nakaka-turn off yun, di ba? Tinatawag kang casual player, parang hindi ka ina-accept into the hobby. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I find that my friends also feel the same way. So for me, it's better to be more inclusive than create distinctions. We all like board games. So that's it for my random thought this episode. Do let me know who you usually play with. Casuals, gamers, non-collector gamers. Does it matter? Do you play with a mix? How do you curate? Or how do you decide what games to bring during game night? Or does it affect your choice at all? You can get in touch with me through my Instagram, Facebook, or by email. Let's now go to our last segment from the meeple. Before we went on a break, I asked the meeples, what is your favorite cooperative game? Some people answered me on Instagram. One person said Shadows over Camelot. A few people named the Pandemic series, of course, like Pandemic Legacy, Base Pandemic, and Pandemic Iberia. Someone said Robinson Crusoe. I still do not understand the rules after reading it 3 times. The Exit Games, Letters from Whitechapel, Spirit Island, The Grizzled, Horrified, and Time Stories. Matutuwa si Celine, because number 1 is Celine at Time Story. Sam said, this is from Facebook naman, Blue is right. No co-op, competitive only. Because if you recall, Blue doesn't really like cooperative games. Sam said my main friend group kasi is all alpha gamer. Oh my gosh, imagine having all alpha gamers in one game group. Damn. Sabi niya, but if I must, my top 3 cooperative games are number 3, The Mind, number 2, Chronicles of Crime, and number 1, Arkham Horror LCG. I've not tried Arkham Horror LCG. I think I want to try it. A lot of people really rave about it. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll ask someone to teach it to me. Maybe Sam can teach it to me. Tonichi said, we'll be listening to the episode when my podcast cues it up. But anyway, top 3 co-ops. Number 3, Hanabi. I liked Hanabi. I'm thinking of picking it up again. I sold it. Number 2, Pandemic Iberia. Yes, to Pandemic Iberia. And number 1, The Mind. Oh, same as Blue. Jason said, just listen to your podcast in Spotify while working. That is the perfect time to listen to a podcast. Just want to share my top 3 co-op games. Number 3, Betrayal on House on the Hill. While it's not totally fully co-op game, I really love how high the replayability and funny how things go in this game. Quite easy to pick up for new gamers. I agree. Because in Betrayal, it's really just move one game. And you know, after streaming our Halloween episode where we played all scary games, horror-themed games, I find that a lot of people really like Betrayal. I'm currently still on my way to finishing my Betrayal Legacy campaign. Shout out to my friends who have abandoned me. And so far, I'm really enjoying the system. I don't know why people were saying that it's broken. But anyway, number 2, Super Dungeon Explorer. A bit too lengthy but quite close to D&D for me. I don't know this game. I'm sorry. I'll have to look it up. Arkham Horror LCG. Oh, another Arkham Horror. Lovecraft-inspired game characters really do have unique abilities and specialties. So, mukhang I really need to try Arkham Horror LCG because 2 people suggested it. Aside from that, Tonichi said, because we talked about Tonichi a lot in the last episode, my podcast reel finally got to the episode itself. Ha ha ha, my special mention pala because of Acquire. I'm with Celine on Playing with 6. It's much more cutthroat since you can easily lose track of who has what and how much. Can lead to surprise payouts mid and end game. Also, I play with my family and in-laws, so we usually hit the 5 to 6 player mark. So stressful and so much fun. For your next economic game, you might want to take a look at the Estates, our current favorite, cutthroat auction at its finest. I think the Estates is on pre-order at Gaming Library. But please, Tonichi, turuan mo muna ako bago ko siya bilhin because nasa stage 6 na ako. which means I am broke. So this is going to wrap up another jam-packed episode. Hope I was able to make it up to you guys after the long absence. We're back on track and we won't miss a beat until maybe the next Christmas rush. And if you like this episode, please share it to someone you think will like it too. If you would like to hear or see more from us, please subscribe to our show in any of the different podcatchers you are using or follow us on Instagram at the BoardGamerPH. Don't forget we do a live stream of our game night every Tuesday night on both the Gaming Library and On Deck Facebook accounts. And finally, for any feedback, comment, questions, or if you would like to share your personal board game story, please do send that across to the boardgamerph@gmail.com or www.facebook.com/theboardgamerph, and we will talk about it in a future episode. I hope you guys stayed with me until the end. If you did, thank you so much for listening in. Tune in again next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.